First of all, boys and girls, can we just appreciate, before we break down the trades, can we just appreciate, like I said, if this doesn't make you a believer in volume profile levels and volume profile trading, can we just appreciate how accurate these were without any other confluences today? You got overnight value area high right off the open, right before any other developing profile confluence. Overnight value area high, literally perfect short area from there all the way down, all right, to previous day value area high. You got that 566 ticks for a maximum of 89 ticks drawdown. And then you also had the retest on the underside. If you missed that first one, when it broke underneath the overnight point of control here, broke underneath, pullback, boom, perfect retest 1, 2, 3, 4 times for a trade off of the overnight point of control. And then again, previous day value high down here, okay? Look at this, just absolute accuracy. And, I always say to people, the levels alone, if you don't add any other context, the levels alone even give you an edge, right? Because look at this. This is far more than random, guys, okay? So a retest of value area high from yesterday's New York was basically low of the day today before the market ran all the way up. Those are not the A-rank setups today, but can we just have a little moment of appreciation for that first? All right, today's setup, guys, was pretty good. It's to do with the overnight levels once again, but of course using the developing profile to frame it up. There were plenty of really good B-rank setups today during the New York session, and I'll kind of run through some of them. But the main one we want to highlight here is actually this trade here from this point. That was today's A-rank setup, meaning 3 or more confluences, making it a very confident trade. And you're still catching, if you end up holding a runner, which I personally wouldn't, I would have sold at the value high. But if you end up holding a runner, that ends up being a pretty decent move. So if we pull the developing profile from 9:30 from the open, all right, obviously you had all those C-rank trades across there. When it pulled down to the previous day value high, there was actually a B-rank trade down there for that low of the day. But we're going to pull this across to the time of this area here, and I'll run you through the confluences here that made this today's trade setup highlight. So if we look at the chart immediately, at the time the market pulled back towards the overnight point of control, it had found support. Okay, this is the context around the move. It had found support at the previous day value area high. Now, previous day value area high is yesterday, New York yesterday, what was considered expensive yesterday. And if today's session determines that actually, hey, yesterday's expensive is today's cheap, right? The developing profile, value area low, discounted price was at yesterday's expensive. We're finding support at what was expensive yesterday. That's a very bullish thing, okay? So when we found support there and the market pumped back above overnight point of control and then came back to retest overnight point of control, that gives us some really good context behind a more confident long at this point. Okay, so market found support at previous premium, it's pushed up, and it's broken away from its own fair value, broken away from its own value high, and pushing up new highs. Okay, the moment it pulls back here, we now have 3 confluences lined up to make this the perfect long setup. Okay, so let's remove this for a second. What we have right off the bat, you can see them immediately, right? We've got your overnight point of control as the previous value level. That's number 1, confluence 1. We have the developing point of control here, okay, confluence number 2, all right, we're above the developing point of control, and we've got the developing value area high here that we've broken away from. It's confluence number 3. So you have 1, 2, 3 confluences here, plus the context of what I mentioned earlier, testing that yesterday's premium price point, finding support there, and pushing up towards new highs. That little contextual clue gives us even more confidence and confluence around this trade. So this whole zone, when the market breaks away and pulls back, you're looking at this entire zone. Now, you can get your entry anywhere across this point, okay, because we have 3 stacked confluences all across this zone, okay, from where the value high is down to the developing point of control, with obviously the overnight point of control in there as your previous value level. Now, when you have a zone like this, I mentioned it in yesterday's video too, good idea is just to get an entry near the midpoint, okay? Don't necessarily chase the trade right on the first stacked confluence, and you don't always want to wait always to the furthest one. That is your best entry, but you're not always going to get tagged in. a good one to do is to have your entry at the midpoint between that zone, between those confluences, halfway through. So it gives the market that opportunity to pull back into these stacked areas and gives you a good chance of getting into a trade. So you want to enter halfway through those stacked areas. Your stop loss in this case, the reason why having the developing point of control there is so good is your stop loss is only going to need to be behind the point of control. So that's 67 ticks to point of control, rounded up 100 ticks, has your stop loss just behind point of control, right? And then your take profit, you're going to be targeting. There wasn't really any massive nodes on the profile on the upside, so you have basically a clear run all the way to the overnight value high for this trade for your logical target, okay, giving you a nice clean 1 to 2.18 trade from there, an A rank setup. 1, 2, 3 confluences plus the context behind what had just happened, and then a clean run through to target here. Now, I would have been out personally, completely out of the trade at the time it hits the overnight value high. That's overnight expensive, and it's also extended above the developing value high. Even with the bullish context, it's a good idea to get out of your trade at these logical areas. You can see the market did hit that overnight value high again, found a bit of resistance, drop back below, retest the exact same area. So it gives you another trade setup, okay? The exact same trade setup the next time around, except this time things have shifted a little bit, okay? So only difference now is the developing value high is now shifted a bit higher. So it's less clean as the first entry. That's why that first entry was the number 1 A rank setup, because all the confluences aligned and gave you a nice tight stop loss area for a very clean trade. But if you did end up holding any runners, that ended up obviously running up way past overnight value high and breaking to the upside for the session before tapering off a little bit later in the day. So really, really clean session for you New York traders. I am very jealous of you guys who can trade New York every single day. I will be trading New York live inside the school group, and will also be going live for London today in about 6 hours from when I post this video. Going live for the 2 a.m. Eastern time through to after the London Open, and then tomorrow going live for New York, 10:30 p.m. my time, but 8:30 a.m. Eastern time for New York tomorrow. So if you want to come join the live sessions and watch it all live in action and hang out on stream, as well as the live streams, you get complete access to the course, hours of bonus educational content alongside the main course, and the weekly group coaching sessions that we wrap up the week with. And hey, we got 287 members in here already. It's only been 3 weeks, and engagement and retention are at industry highs. Reason being is I'm in here every day, making sure every dollar you spend inside the group is returned with at least 10x the value. So I'm really making sure if you're inside the school community, you're getting your money's worth. So that's linked in the comments below if you want to go deeper. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed today's daily breakdown. I will see you again tomorrow.